Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, Rally? Can't believe training camp's finally here, man.
You know, it's so weird how we skip a week and all these things have just come down like a ton of bricks on us. I got to tell you, man, I'm doing good, by the way, and you're right. The season is right upon us. We've got training camp in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days from now. So, wow, I can't wait. But there's a downside to that, and I said it before. When the season starts, the summer's pretty much over. So here we are.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, July 23rd, right? Everyone had to report to camp yesterday, and we'll talk about if everyone reported or not. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But all the players were supposed to be at camp yesterday, and I love the fact that football is technically back again. It also bums me out because summer's ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the offseason because the regular season, football season is just so much work. So I try and step away from everything other than you and I do on the show. And we switch to every other week during the offseason. And for those wondering, we're not going to go back to the normal schedule until the season starts, right? We're just still trying to enjoy the time. And there's also not a lot happening. Rally, you're not going to listen to Rally and I hear us talk about, the seventh wide receiver on the depth chart or the sixth running back, and if they're going to make the roster. That's not what we talk about on this show. We talk about stuff that we feel most fans, maybe not the nerdiest X's and O's fans, want to hear, like what's going on with the stadium, like what's going on with Terry's contract, like retiring Art Monk's number. That's just kind of, some of the stuff that happened in the week that we took off. And speaking of which, there's so much on this rundown. Let's just jump into it. I mean, I've been waging a war against the DC City Council, not all of them, but a majority of them. And it's funny because some of them have actually reached out to me. Some of their PR staff has reached out to me, going back and forth, because if you guys follow me on any kind of social media, I've been sharing their contact information and asking people to apply pressure burst pipes, right? Let's be respectful. But the council had a July 15th deadline to come to a decision. That deadline was imposed by the team and the mayor. It's the 23rd. The deadline is come and gone. So what that means is DC no longer has an exclusivity deal with the Commanders. The Commanders can technically negotiate a deal with the Commonwealth of Virginia or with Maryland. Now, with that being said, no one believes Virginia anymore after that debacle that happened with Leosis.
Yeah.
So they're not realistic. And Governor Moore, Wes Moore from Maryland, actually said he's moving on. So really, the only dance partner the team has is DC. So the exclusivity deal, I don't even know if there's an exclusivity deal, right? They got no one else to dance with. But the issue I have had this entire time is the council is set to go to recess on August 1st until September 15th. And Council Chair Phil Mendelson has publicly said multiple times they don't come back from recess or never have come back from recess to vote. So now we're talking about a potential vote for the stadium not happening until the middle of September, which puts $750 million at risk of revenue because the stadium won't be open in time. So that's what I've been trying to force them to do. Good news is there is a public hearing happening on July 28th. There is also another hearing happening on July 29th between the team and officials. And just came out a little bit ago, it seems like a vote is supposed to potentially happen as early as July 30th. So we're pretty damn close to this thing potentially being done.
Well, Ted, you said something a couple sentences back, and you used the word never. And if you know me and I know you, we never use the word never because it almost never works out that way. So we know that Daniel Snyder said he would never change the name, and the name has changed. So anytime someone puts that caveat of never on it, best believe things will start to roll in the direction that they want to. So I have a feeling that that never that they've never done it before, they're going to get it done on this particular rundown because of all the pressure that people are putting on them. And they also understand that this is a win-win for everyone.
Agreed. And I seriously appreciate all of our listeners applying pressure, because I have been getting DMs and messages from people saying, thank you for sharing that information. Didn't know where to find it. I've been sending emails, leaving messages on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And hearing Councilmember McDuffie, Kenyon McDuffie, who is pro stadium, who has been trying to get the stadium deal done for quite some time, he mentioned how he's been getting phone calls. I'm not saying he's been getting phone calls from our listeners, but I do know that our listeners have been calling, especially because the council members have actually reached out to me because of what I've been posting. So thank you all for really using your voices to help get this thing done. Now, we have mentioned time and again that this is not a political podcast. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat, if you don't vote at all. But we'd be remiss if we did not bring up what happened on July 20th with our current president. So Donald Trump came out on Truth Social and actually sent out this message. The Washington Whatevers should immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team. There is a big clamoring for this. Likewise, the Cleveland Indians, one of the 6 original baseball teams with a storied past, our great Indian people in massive numbers, want this to happen. Their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Times are different now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. We are a country of passion and common sense. Owners get it done. Then he followed that up with another statement saying, my statement on the Washington Redskins has totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. Cleveland should do the same with the Cleveland Indians. The owner of the Cleveland Indians baseball team, Matt Dolan, who is very political, has lost 3 elections in a row because of that ridiculous name change. What he does understand is that if he changed the name back to Cleveland Indians, he might actually win an election. Indians are being treated very unfairly. Make Indians great again. MIGA. Now,
Well,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I don't want this to be a name debate. We have talked plenty and plenty about the fact that I don't think the name's going to go back. I am fine with the name being what it is. There's a reason why I am wearing a Washington Commanders shirt on right now. It is on purpose because I'm over it, right? The old name is come and gone. I have used this analogy multiple times, but we get new listeners all the time. So I'm going to break it down one more time, right? Rally, you have children, right? I don't want to put your business out there. I'm assuming it's, and you have a lot of memories with those kids, taking them to school, right? Let's just say, I don't know if I want to put out like if you have a boy or a girl, if that's okay or not. But let's just hypothetically say your daughter, you took her to her first daddy-daughter dance, right? She told you about her first boyfriend, right? You guys took pictures when she had prom and all the parents got there together, right? You guys dropped her off at school and college for the first time, right? If she were to get married and then she has you walk her down the aisle and at the end, she decides to change her last name to that of her spouse, none of those memories you had with her raising her went away. That is how I feel about our name being the Commanders. That's why it does not bother me personally. On top of the fact that I have worked with tribes that found the old name offensive. Mm-hmm. So just saying that, that's why I've moved on. And it's not easy for everyone to move on. And I get it. But that is my analogy and my logic in thinking that, okay, we are the Commanders now. All right, leave out the Craig Melvin haha at the end, but that's just who we are. And you were about to say something.
I was going to say that, as everyone knows that I travel to away cities to watch our beloved team play. And there's been some very tense times at different stadiums. Unbeknownst to me, I was a fan of the name. And to a degree, don't get me wrong. I mean, as I always say, in the heart, it will always be Redskins. It just will be. You can't change that. However, after attending a game in Minnesota, I want to say in 2013, they were looking at trying to almost change the venue for the game because of the protest. I had no clue that the protests were as large as they were, or even if people didn't like it. I mean, I knew that there was a small segment of people of Native Americans, but I didn't realize it was as large as it was. So people got to get out of their head that they're the only ones who can have feelings. And these, I also went to a game in Indianapolis, another huge protest, huge protest, so much to where I got cussed out in, I think it was Choctaw or Cherokee or something to that effect. And the only reason why I knew I was getting cussed out is because one of my friends who was Native American on Facebook at the time said, "Oh wow, this lady's cussing you out," and I had no clue. I was standing proud with my redskin garb on, didn't know any better. So well, when you know better, you do better. And so I'm with you. There are a lot of people who want it, and before I was thrusted into the middle of this, I wouldn't have thought anything was wrong with it until I walked in those people's, if you will, shoes. And so I had no clue until, and I should say walked in their shoes because I'm not Native American, but hearing their stories. And let's face it, you've got, let's just say 60% of Native Americans who don't find it offensive, but you've got 40% that do. So do we just discredit their feelings? No, you don't do that. So to cool this thing off, you change the name. I've been like you. I listen to a lot of talk radio, and it, people were saying, "Oh, the money is what made them change the name." No, what started the whole aspect was the Native Americans voicing their opinion, which then led to, yes, the almighty dollar being cut out of things. Which you know as well as I do that when money gets involved and you start losing it, you'll do things to change. So that's all I'm going to say about it. We are the Commanders until we change it to something else if they do. But no matter what, I am a Redskin fan in the heart, but I'm a Commanders fan. As you can see, I'm wearing a Commanders hat. Didn't know we were going to talk about that, but here we are. So if we can, let's move on. And if you still want to say Redskins, then say it silently. If it's that much you just can't let it go, say it silently because you don't know who's standing next to you who may take offense to it. And that's all I'll say.
All right, and before you and I started the pod, I gave you an example, right? It's back in the day, Asian Americans were called Oriental, and it was okay. Now, me being Asian American, if someone were to call me Oriental, I'd probably just take it and educate them on why that's not okay anymore. The word evolved, and I told you, Oriental is a rug, right? It's not a person. And unfortunately, for some, whether you like it or not, that's how they feel about the old name. And
Hmm.
can the president stop the RFK deal from happening? Technically, yes. If Josh Harris does not go back to the old name and bring it back, which I don't think he's going to do, right? To me, it's bad business sense to risk advertisers and people pulling out like they did last time. And you
Yeah.
have had people talking about how, okay, well, Fred Smith passed away, the FedEx gentleman that started this entire thing, right? This isn't the same world we live in back then. I mean, Trump talked about it in his statement. You're correct, it's not. But who's to say if we change it back 5 years from now, the sentiment's not going to change again. So it just does not make sense for Josh Harris and these other people that spent money to put themselves in a situation where the public sentiment could potentially go back to what it was that forced a change again. So
Yep.
I'm sorry. I don't know about you guys. I'm tired of our name changing. I'm tired of buying new gear, right? I'm good with just having Commanders gear. I have my Redskins gear. I just don't wear it anymore, right? It's in my back closet. I'll never get rid of it. It's just something I'm going to have. I just don't wear it anymore. And for those of you that do, nothing wrong with that. You know, you're just honoring the team that you love. That's fine with me. But I want to make sure our listeners know that, yes, he does have the ability to stop this with an executive order. Technically, what has to happen is, and you know what? Mark Seagraves was on with B. Mitch and Finley today talking about this because Phil Mendelson, the DC Council chair, has actually been doing what he's supposed to do, his damn job. So let's listen to what Mark had to say on B. Mitch and Finley.
Hey, JP, Brian, thanks for having me on again. So it looks like the council chairman has reached a deal with the Commanders that will clear the way for Chairman Mendelson to call for the council to take a vote on the overall legislation as early as the 31st of July. So this is good news again for anyone who supports this deal, the mayor, the team. We don't have the specific details of the negotiations between Mendelson and the Commanders, but we can expect that there are some changes to the financial arrangement about revenue sharing, tax implementation, things like that, not about the big dollar stuff, how much money the team puts in versus how much money the city puts in. But again, we know the chairman, Mendelson, and team officials have been meeting face-to-face for weeks, and my reporting is that they have now reached an agreement that satisfies Mendelson's desire to, in his words, make it a better deal for the residents of D.C., and allows him to call for a vote again as early as the 31st of July, which would be the day after the 2 days of public hearings.
So hearing that's absolutely amazing. I also think that some of this pressure is because James Comer with Congress, I'm trying to remember what his exact title is, but he was basically the gentleman that got the bill through so DC could have the land back in the lease. He also sent a letter to the DC City Council basically saying, get your S together, right? We extended this lease and changed the terms of it because we talked about a stadium. It's in the lease and you guys aren't doing your job, so get your act together. That, coupled with the president's pressure just past couple days ago, I'm not surprised that Council Chair Mendelson is close to announcing a deal with the team, because on top of us applying pressure, they're getting it from everywhere you can possibly think. Now,
Like my high school coach would always say, put some fire under your butt. And obviously the fire is under the butt. And when that fire hits your butt, it makes you move, it makes you hop. So there we go.
big time. And my whole issue has been, don't go on vacation if you have something like this on your plate. You don't leave work when you still have stuff to do. That was my whole problem, right? I'm all for them taking time to get the best deal for DC, but you can't tell me you're doing the best for DC when you're going on vacation. And now it looks like they're not going to do that, and we're close to it. But here's what has to happen, right? The DC Council has to have 2 votes. The first vote is what Seagraves talked about, that is going to happen after the public hearings, potentially July 30th or July 31st, right after that. There will then be a second vote that is going to happen, and then it goes to Congress. So this is where the president can get involved. Congress technically doesn't have to do anything. Congress is actually going to be at recess. Can they come back from recess? Yes. But if Congress doesn't do anything, then it just gets approved no matter what. If DC approves it and Congress doesn't shoot it down, it just shoots through. But Congress can step in and say, no, we don't approve this, which actually happened a couple years ago with the DC crime bill that the city council tried to pass. Not getting into the weeds of all that, just know it was legislation that Congress stopped, and they said, no, we're not going to let the DC council approve this because DC doesn't have its own rights. That's a whole other story. So is Donald Trump going to stop the RFK deal from happening if the name doesn't go back to Redskins? I don't know. The guy is a loose cannon, not to get political, but he talks about so many different things on his social media. Who knows what's going to stick? I don't know if this is going to, right? And he left himself an out, right? He said he may change it, right? Not that he's going to, that he may not allow the deal to go through. So
you never know what's on his mind. If he wakes up on the left or the right side of the bed, it could change, like you said. So we're just going to keep our fingers crossed that whatever happens, it's the best deal for the team, as well as the city, as well as the fans.
That's all I want, man. And I've been literally yelling and screaming, this deal that's going to happen in DC is going to hurt me. Right? I'm not going to be able to tailgate a couple of years down the road once the stadium opens. It's the matter of fact. It's going to suck, right? But it's what's best for the city. And I honestly think it's what's best for this team, right? To get out of Landover. So
you have your community grill, bro. Come on. You'll have your community grill. You'll still be able to tailgate.
That hopefully someone did not urinate on, or we're going to bring a hell of a lot of lighter fluid to sanitize that damn thing. But I just wanted to make sure that we weren't dancing around that issue, because I'm getting attacked by a lot of HTTR people because of my stance, which is perfectly fine with me.
It's got to be talked about, though. It's got to be talked about, and people have to understand that that's your reality. That's not the reality of the world. So at some point in time, you got to be able to change.
Yeah, and people like Sabah and others out there, they just won't, and that's fine. Hey, more power to you. But speaking of not changing, so we didn't have a chance to talk when Terry did his Eastern Motors press conference, and I was texting you when it was actually live on 106.7 The Fan saying, damn, Terry's just spilling all the tea. And we have listeners all over the place, some in Spain. Reach out to us because Rally and I are both going to be there because we'd love to meet you guys. And is it a cerveza in Spain? I know that's what it is in Mexico, so I'm guessing it's the same thing in Spain.
I'm assuming so.
Maybe a sangria. We'll have a sangria with you guys out in Spain. But I cannot believe, actually, before I say this, I know you listened to it on the radio. Did you watch Terry's presser at Eastern Motors versus just listening?
I didn't watch it, but I did see a couple clips, and you could tell that it was heartfelt. And from what I did see, and you could tell that the dude, he meant what he said, and he was in his feelings, and it almost at one point in time looked like he was about to cry.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And yes, Terry was there to film a commercial for Eastern Motors, but he ain't that good an actor. I've seen the commercials, right? I mean, there is no chance that Terry was about to fake cry. And it's just hearing the frustration in his voice, right? I can see why the fan base is so split and frustrated on this. This is actually Terry talking about being frustrated.
I've been pretty frustrated, I'm not going to lie. Everything that has transpired up to this point has just been disappointing and frustrating. I've wanted to continue my career here. I've created my life here. My wife and I have bought our first home here. So this has been somewhere where I've always wanted to be. And, just to see how things have played out has been disappointing. Obviously, I understand everything's a business, but at the same time, I want to put myself in a position where, I'm valued and, I feel appreciated and things like that. And, unfortunately, that hasn't transpired the way I wanted to. So, I'm just trying to take things day by day. And at the beginning of this process, I honestly just wanted to, for things to work out. And, I thought things were going to kind of be more progressive than they have, and so at this point it's kind of just up in the air.
And real quick, that mic noise, not Rally and me. That was the people at the press conference all putting their stuff down there so they could get their own audio clips of Terry. But when you and I talked last, I think our last show was September 8th, and we talked about how worried we were about this. Out of 10, I don't remember exactly what we were, but I think I was maybe a 5. And now I think I'm at an 8. Just after hearing the frustration in Terry's voice, and we'll play a couple more clips here. It is the first day of camp, right? Well, actually, I think it's technically the second day of camp. And
Second day.
the team put Terry on the he did not show list, right? So it's official. The young man is holding out, not holding in. And there was a lot of speculation. Is he going to show up and just sit there so he doesn't get fined? He is so frustrated. He's getting fined $50,000 a day to not be there. And oh, by the way, a lot of fans don't know, they changed the rules in the CBA. Teams can't just wipe those fines away. He has to pay that fine down the road. Even if he signs, he has to pay that fine. If the fine gets up there and up there and up there, is the team just going to give him money and add it to his contract to pay the fine? I don't know. But fact of the matter is, that's money is coming out of his pocket, right? Yeah. So he is damn serious about being frustrated. And I'm not sure which clip it was, but he talks about how they hadn't talked in over a month. This was last week, and they haven't spoken in over a month. That doesn't sound good to me. That's why I'm at an 8 out of 10. Knowing that, where are you on your meter?
Well, I guess I'm still one of the guys who you call me a homer, if you will. It's important, but I think that the deal is going to get done. And I'm going to stick to still being that 4.5 to 5. I'm going to stick to that because I firmly believe that they're going to do the right thing. I could be wrong. The captain has been wrong a couple times in his life, more actually than I like to say. But you know, I think that something will happen and it will be positive, and we're gonna ride off into the sunset and be happily ever after. Now, as far as that money's concerned, that's a tough one for me, because you take $5 out of my pocket and I'm hurting. So 50,000. Whoo, man, that's a lot of dough, bro. A lot of dough. But I think, but I think that they will get it done. And here's the thing: if they don't get it done, it's like the name change. You ain't gonna like it, but what can you do? If you're a fan, you're a fan. You're a fan. You got to deal with it. So, is that going to make you renounce your fandom if they get rid of them? Are you going to go to the Cowboys or the Eagles or someplace else? No, you're going to stay a Commanders fan or the fan of the Burgundy and Gold. How about that? You're going to stay a fan of the Burgundy and Gold. So, I don't like it, but I honestly believe that it's just a part of the negotiations. And yes, I think that they probably thought that he was good. Terry hasn't made any waves. He's a good hometown kid. He's good until they found out, wait a minute, you really feel that way? We kind of had an idea, but we didn't know it was this strong. So now they've got to go back and scratch their head a little bit and get on their fingers and toes and start counting and see what they can do or won't do. But at the end of the day, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, not so great, but you're still going to be a fan of the Burgundy and Gold.
So Jeremy Fowler was on with the Sports Junkies this morning, and he was saying that he doesn't know for a fact, but he doesn't even think that Terry and the team are going back and forth on numbers. They're just not talking. Someone made an offer, someone was insulted by the offer, or vice versa, and they're just not speaking at this point. They're not counter-offering at all. You talk about people being a fan of the Burgundy and Gold, you're still going to be a fan of the Burgundy and Gold. Believe it or not, there are fans that are turning on Terry, right? And they're saying he's under contract. He should honor his contract. And it just keeps going and going. And I put this out earlier today, and let me see if I can get to it here. I don't see how any Washington fan can be firmly on Terry's side or the team's side right now. There are just too many unknowns. What exactly did the team offer him? What is Terry realistically aiming to earn per year at age 31? Some fans are calling McLaurin greedy or pointing out that he's still under contract, but that misses the bigger picture. His 2025 base salary is $15.5 million, but none of it is guaranteed. If he gets injured during camp and the team releases him, he walks away with nothing. The truth is, things aren't black and white, just like the rest of the world. This situation lives in the gray, right? NFL contracts.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That's why he is holding out right now, right? We all remember, for the most part, Reuben Foster getting hurt during, I want to say it was OTAs.
OTAs, yeah.
There's a reason why Terry did not participate in OTAs, right? If Terry gets hurt for something stupid, he gets nothing if the team cuts him. He gets his $2.8 million roster bonus, and his prorated signing bonus is $9 million, which he already got paid, but the $15.5 million is not guaranteed, so they could cut his ass. So he is doing what is best for him in that situation. So fans out there saying he's under contract, it's not a guaranteed contract. It's not a contract like you have with, your job, whatever it may be at that point. So if the team decides to get rid of him, they can get rid of him. The other part is fans don't get, this is a contract extension. They are not ripping up the deal on his contract right now. When he signs the new deal and the extension, he's going to get a signing bonus. And things are going to be converted, and he will get paid. But the terms of the new deal aren't going to go into effect until 2026, which he will be turning 31 years old September 15th of 2026. So that is where the hangup is from Adam Peters' perspective, right? That a lot of people are assuming, because Terry actually talked about it during his press conference. This is actually Terry saying how 30 ain't old.
30 ain't old. You know what I mean? People making it seem like I need to start getting fitted for a walker and a cane. You know what I mean? No disrespect. You know what I mean? Because with age comes wisdom. You know what I mean? And I think my game is going to continue to mature in a great way as I go out through the course of the end of my career. And I don't think that's right now. I don't think that's near. And my ability to make catches at the catch point, people call it contested catches. I call it winning at the catch point. You know what I memean? I think that'll continue to stay. My speed, I still am a 4.3 guy. I'm the same guy just in January, was able to take a slant in the NFC Championship game in a screen for a touchdown. I don't think that changes in 6 months, especially without no major injuries.
Regardless of where you lie on this, I agree with him. The guy has not missed a game in his entire tenure here, right? Knock on wood, right? He is durable. He hasn't had any major surgeries or anything, right? What was Will Levis just went through shoulder surgery, so he's going to miss the entire season. I mean, why he's going through shoulder surgery right now at training camp and not do it during the offseason? Who knows? Maybe he just doesn't like playing football. But the fact of the matter is, Terry has been reliable. But a lot of fans are saying pay Terry whatever.
You can't do that.
Exactly. I don't understand how you can say that, right? Now, he is set to make $20 million this year, right? $15.5 million on his base salary, some other bonuses, some other stuff. His average salary in his contract, which is what everyone really cares about, the AAV, Terry's AAV is $22.7 million. All right. The top 10 wide receivers out there right now, number 10 is T. Higgins, making $28.75 million. Brandon Ayuk, who held out last year, we all remember that drama, saying he wanted to come play here, is making $30 annual per year. So realistically, I think Terry's number should start in the threes, but you have fans saying pay him whatever. I'm sorry, but I have a problem paying Terry $35 million, which is the second highest, going to Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. I just don't think that a year from now that's what it should be. And he is under contract. Is he going to hold out the entire year? I don't know. I hope to God no, because I really think we got a shot at doing something special this year. But let's just say he doesn't sign a deal. They're going to have to franchise him if they want to keep him, if they don't come to an agreement, which is still then going to be a $30 million franchise tag, 30 million plus, not 32, not 33. So why not start there? And we don't know where the team has offered him or what they've offered him and what Terry wants. That's the part I don't get with our fan base right now, man.
Well, when you mention numbers, 25, 22, whatever have you, you're not taking account to Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam is going to get his chunk. So even though it is a lot of money, when you come down to it, it's not a lot of money. You know what I mean? If that makes sense, because we forget about that. Now I'm sure there are going to be some incentives on top of that and everything, but man, would I like to have it? Of course I would, because I'm a hundredaire or a thousandaire as they call it. I don't know, but once you're a millionaire and you start looking at that, moving that decimal point, Uncle Sam, he gets his. So you got to remember that, and it comes out to not to be a lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and I just, you know what? John Keim actually broke it down on his podcast. This is John talking about what he thinks is potentially some of the concern.
Then it's the age thing. He's going to turn 30 in September. He clearly was bothered by hey, let's make it a case by case basis. I think that's understandable. I think the one thing you have to keep in mind when you're looking at the age, it's not the age this year because he's already under contract this year. So they're clearly comfortable with him at 30 doing what he can still do. As he pointed out, he's the same guy who took that slant to the house against the Eagles in the championship game. 6 months later, nothing's going to change. And that's true. I think what they're going to look at is if this is an extension, it starts at 31, 32, 33, maybe 34, right? Maybe 35. What's it going to look like at that point? That's what Washington's going to look at. And I think for McLaurin, if I'm him, probably look at it the same way. What's it going to look like? Listen, I'm still doing this. Nobody knows what it's going to look like a few years from now. You can guess, you can speculate, you can look at analytics, all of that, but nobody knows how McLaurin is going to look, what he's going to look like in several years. But that's that needle you got to thread. And I think part of that, it's hard to find comps for him. I know other receivers signed.
So it's just, I get it. We're all fans, right? But we also want to be realistic. You got some fans that are saying, well, just trade him, right? You can't trade Terry. What are you going to get for him, right? You're in a window right now to win, especially with Jaden. They're building on this team, right? They just made a deal for Von Miller to come here. And I'm happy as hell about that because we get some veteran leadership that we lost when John Allen walked out and went to Minnesota, right? And we're not bringing the guy from Cincy here. That ain't happening, right? So you can't just trade Terry. If you were going to trade him, you should have traded him before everyone's rosters were set and all this happened. Yeah. And why they didn't negotiate this last year? You don't negotiate NFL contracts when you have 2 years left on the contract. I mean, I love our fan base to a degree, but sometimes they just frustrate the heck out of me because they're just not logical with the things that they say.
Right? Saying the first thing that comes to their mind.
And it just, GMs don't negotiate that way. Players don't negotiate that way. Right. And right now I am reserving my frustration for the situation until I get more details. We heard Terry speak, and thank God we have not heard the commander speak yet, because if this was ownership and leadership of the past, they would have leaked it to some reporter who all of a sudden would have had a story about, oh, we offered him this and he didn't want to take it. And then we would have devalued Terry and but he hasn't said anything from Terry's perspective that has not allowed him to walk anything back. Right. So this is still salvageable, and it's only day 2 of camp.
Definitely. Yeah. We're not even tip of the iceberg right now. We're so far away. So even though camp has started, but I think the biggest thing, Ted, is, and to our listeners, the biggest thing is there's an emptiness. We're trying to repeat what we've done, and each day that you take away from that, it sets you back. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sure that that they probably will be able to get right back in there. But each day is a playoff game, so to speak. Think about it like that. So something's got to be done. And I have a feeling that it will get done because both parties are going to realize the love that they have for each other. It's like a couple who's arguing. Once they go through that counseling and they bring back the good things that each can bring to each other, I think this is going to be okay. But it's the art of the deal. I honestly believe that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I hope you're right. This is actually what Adam Peters had to say about Terry not reporting to camp.
This one, we'll start off with the fun stuff right away for you. What has been communicated to you about Terry, whether reporting or not reporting? What's been communicated to you about him?
Yeah, we haven't spoken about that, but just like with really all of our players, we're expecting everybody to be here today.
And then for both of you, he talked a lot last week about his situation, a lot of frustration. He talked about wanting to feel valued. I'm curious what you guys thought about that. And then, Adam, if you can talk about where things do stand with him as far as an extension.
Yeah, I mean, first, I think, without a doubt, I think everybody in this building values Terry very much. And we knew that coming in, and we knew that even more after spending a year with him. In terms of where we're at, we've had conversations recently, and we'll look to have some more conversations, and we're going to do everything we can in order to get a deal done.
So that's a step in the right direction because, according to Terry, they hadn't talked in a month. So conversations recently, I don't know if they've been meaningful conversations. Part of me thinks that they haven't been because the young man's holding out, not holding in. Because if they were meaningful, he would be there with his teammates. But this is actually what Jaden had to say on the locker room and if they're worried about Terry.
Do you think there's concern in the locker room about the situation, or just it's business in the NFL?
It's just business in the NFL. We know Terry's working. We don't really have to worry about him doing any of that. But, at the end of the day, he's still one of our brothers.
So we talked about Trey Hendrickson holding out from the Bengals. Hendrickson's in Florida, nowhere near his team. There was a guy that took a picture today. I guess Terry was doing yoga this morning in Ashburn. So he's in Virginia. He's right around the corner from camp, right? He's just waiting to have something happen that he'll show up. So he's there and he's getting his workouts in. Granted, I've never done yoga. Have you done yoga?
I have. And it's taxing. It really is.
I'm sure it's probably more of a workout than what they're doing in the shells right now, or just the helmets that they got. Because I did see all the videos from camp today that people were putting out there. I'm thinking maybe the yoga is more of a workout, so he's not really missing much. But Jaden also said in another clip that they're not going to miss a beat. When Terry gets there, it's going to be fine because this is year 2 in the system. And oh, by the way, Jaden was the first person out there at 6:30 this morning with Cliff Kingsbury on the field working on stuff. Because that's just how that young man is. And I got no doubt that when Terry does sign or when Terry does show back up, he and Terry are going to put the extra work in to pick up whatever he missed. So
I'd like to believe that. I really would. And so, as you said early on, it all makes sense on both sides, Ted. It really does. And I'm going to go back just for a quick second. So everybody who is on the fence, Jaden throws Terry a slant in practice or warm up, and God forbid something happens, and you said a mouthful, Ted. Now he's hurt. He doesn't have any guaranteed money, and technically there's no workman's comp in the NFL.
No.
Either you play or you don't play, and that would be he wouldn't play. So we guys, when you're so just cut and dry with stuff, think about that. We say he wouldn't miss a beat, but we've seen it happen. The cleat get caught up in the grass, the turf, whatever you want to call it, and now something crazy happens. And I'm not going to even mention, but we all know what I'm talking about without saying it. And he's done, and now he has nothing. Would you really want that for him? Or if that was your dad or your brother or cousin, would you really want that for them? I don't think that you would. You'd be on if it was someone in your family that had that same clause, you'd want your family member to hold out. So if you really want to look at Terry, look at him as a family member, and you want the best for your family member.
The other part that's been driving me crazy I've seen going out there is Terry career earnings has made $56 million. He's being greedy. Why does he want more? Are you guys serious? You want to get paid what you're worth in your job. He wants to get paid what he's worth in his job. Terry has a just responsibility to the rest of the wide receivers in this league to not just take a bad deal for the hell of it, right? All of these wide receiver deals, all these player deals get compared to each other. If you own a house and your neighbor sells his house for pennies on the dollar, and then you go to sell yours down the road, you're going to get comped to that bad deal your neighbor took.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what's going to happen to all the other receivers in the league. And I know it's a little bit different because he is 29 years old, but to a degree, it's still the same because salaries are being comped. People are saying Terry should get, trying to think of different players' names, money, right? They should pay him like DK Metcalf is making $33 million a year. They should pay him like this, who's making this amount a year. All players are comped to other players' contracts. So it is a fraternity that these young men are in that only a select few get to be in. He is not going to do that to his other brothers. Yeah. So let's be realistic about this. And I get that's tough for fans because fans short for fanatical. But before you attack the young man, understand that he also has obligations to the rest of the NFL brotherhood to make sure that he's not doing something that is going to negatively affect them down the road with this deal. And the team is also not going to do something that's going to negatively affect them down the road when they've got to pay Frankie Louvu, Laramie Tunsil, Jaden Daniels. Hopefully they can meet in the middle. And then we're talking about years later, we're still doing the pod and retiring Terry McLaurin's number instead of retiring Art Monk's number, which thankfully the team is about to do this year against the Seahawks.
Very happy about that. It's well overdue and well deserved.
Did you go to Canton when Art got inducted in?
No, I did not.
So I was up there when Art and Daryl both got selected in. And I remember there was just a huge clamoring for Art for years and years to get in. And it was so awesome that it happened at the same time. I mean, Burgundy and Gold took over Canton, Ohio. Have you ever been up to Canton?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not a big town.
No, not a big town at all. I actually said that when B. Mitch gets in, I'm going.
That's the only time I'm going to go back, right?
Yeah.
When B gets in or when Jacoby gets in, I've got my other reasonings for why I'm not a big fan of being up there anymore, but that's probably the only time I'll go back up there is when B or Joe Jacoby get in. But the fact that they're honoring him, they flew down. It was Ricky Sanders, Gary, Doug Williams. Art does not fly. Now, I don't know if that's officially, he just never gets on a plane, but I know people that have had Art go to autograph signings, and he has come up in a vehicle, right? He hasn't gotten on a plane to do that. So the team flew down to surprise Art to tell him, hey, we're retiring your number. No one is going to wear 81 again. And I don't think anyone has actually really worn that number. I think it's just another one of the unofficial numbers that the team just does not give out. But I wanted to ask you, who do you think we should retire next?
I don't think Riggins' number is retired, is it?
No, 44 is not retired.
Yeah, I'll look at Riggins.
I was hoping you weren't going to take that one because I honestly think Riggins is the next one that should go realistically. The guy is just, he's iconic, right? And I remember at the stadium last year when Riggins was there and they put him on the Jumbotron and he had a burgundy kind of sport jacket on and he opened it and he had the Redskins old logo inside there. And that's just Riggins being Riggins, man. It cracks me up. And I was doing a show out at Ashburn years ago when I used to do it with Larry Michael, and Riggins was there when we just got done. And he said, "You're too small to be a football player. Who are you?" So Larry explained to him that I was Tailgate Ted and all this other stuff. And it was kind of surreal meeting your
Hmm.
heroes,
Yeah.
you know, meeting John and just kind of get a chit chat with him and go from there. But because you said 44, I'm going to have to say Jacoby, right? We need to have a hog, one of them, their number retired. And to me, Joe epitomizes it. And I think it's a
Definitely.
shame that he is not in the Hall of Fame at this point. That I think Russ Grimm is the only one that's in there. And Joe coming in undrafted, there was a story about how they thought he was going to play defense. They didn't even know that he was there to play offense. Right. And the
Big
guy is
dude.
just a monster. And I
Big dude.
bought a Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8 from Joe from his dealership down in Warrenton. Warrenton was nowhere near where I lived, but I loved going out there because I could talk to Jacoby just about football. And we would sit down and he would just tell me stories after story after story, just to the
Wow.
glory years. And it was worth maybe the extra $60 in gas because that car got 10 miles to the gallon just to go out there and get an oil change and sit down with him because Joe was just freaking phenomenal. And he sold his dealership and he's not there anymore, or else I'd probably still buy every car from him. But I'm hoping he's the next guy on the list. But I cannot wait because the team announced the throwback unis, which
Hmm.
can't believe we missed that too. A lot happened, man, when we were gone that week.
Yeah.
But what was your first thought when you saw the new unis come out or the new old unis come out?
I was happy. Um, but Ted, I'm the type of guy, you know, I like the jerseys that we have. A lot of people say they're trash. A lot of people say, I, but I'm okay with the New Jersey. I really do like the old New Jersey, and I'm glad that they decided to bring it back. And I'm really wondering, will they, instead of 5 games or 6 games or whatever, how many times they're going to wear them, will they in the next upcoming years just make it permanent? Will they go back to that altogether? But I like it a lot. What about you?
I'm a fan. All right, I already reached out to the team about getting one made because you cannot actually get them right now. So I think you can sign up to be notified when you can order it. And I think they're taking orders in September. And you're supposed to get the jersey by the Seahawks game, which is a night game. So
Mm.
if fans get their jerseys for that night game when they're going to honor Art, that's going to be awesome. I know some people were upset that we still got the W on the side. Some people, this actually makes me laugh just because, I'm a cook. All right. They're calling it a taco holder, the W. And I never really thought about it until people
Yeah.
said it.
Yeah.
So, but I like the mixing of the old and the new and just paying homage to what came before and mixing it in with what we are now. And I agree with you to a degree. I like our new jerseys, except I don't like the white one. The white one doesn't really do it for me. If we can replace the white one with this one, the new alternate one, I'd be
Yeah.
happy about that. And the black one's growing on me. It just still
I like
reminds
the
me of the
black.
Steelers, man.
I like the black one. But okay, so here's the deal. A couple years back, we attended the
I remember
a- and they said
the
the reason why they
symposium.
had to, the
Yep.
symposium, they said they had to have the black in the jersey because of the black uniforms. Are there any black? Is there any black anywhere in these new uniforms? I don't think so, right?
No.
Or we're
In
still wearing the old white shirt, right?
Yeah, we're still wearing the old
Okay.
white ones. This is just the alternate, so they didn't have to
Yeah.
put any of that inside there. So, technically they could have changed the uniforms because of the ownership change. Right? There are escape clauses or out clauses for the new ownership that if they wanted to change the name and change the
Hmm.
unis, they could have actually done it because they just took over the team. But they didn't. And I appreciate them not doing that. I do think that things are going to change. And, I asked the team for assistance getting a jersey made because I don't have your stitching capabilities and I can't fit Tailgate Ted on the back when I try and order it on Fanatics or do
No,
anything like
yeah.
that. So we'll see how that goes. But I am excited, and that just means we're that much closer to football season being here. And I might have to ask you for the next show how many sleeps and a wake up until week 1. You can do the math for me because I know it's a lot, but man, it just feels like it's right around the corner.
Preseason is next week, bro.
I mean,
Basically.
that's the Hall of Fame game. I don't know if anyone really watches that, but yeah.
People watch it just to get that.
Just because it's on the background.
That's right. It's football.
It's the Lions and the Chargers, I think, this year.
Regardless of who's playing, where they're playing, it's NFL football. And that's all that matters, to let you officially know that it's kicking off and we're back. And just think, Sunday, training camp, and I heard that they added more bleachers or something to that effect. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the changes that they've done, like they did with the locker room. I was stoked when I saw that.
I mean, they finally have a real locker room. I mean, it actually looks like what some of those players probably had in college, right? Like I've seen the LSU locker room. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of that, right? We finally actually have a real legit locker room and these players are getting amenities. So ownership is putting money into everything big time, and hats off to them. And you said you're going to be at camp this Sunday?
Yeah.
So
I'll be there.
I won't be there till Tuesday and Thursday next week. Hopefully you'll get a chance to come out with me if you can make it. You and I talk about that offline. If you guys see us out there, stop us, man. Let us know. Let us know you listen to the show. Because I get a lot of crap on social media. It's nice to get some, high fives and hellos from time to time as well. So I appreciate it. We always love meeting and running into new listeners.
Definitely. We're human. We appreciate the interaction. There's no us without you. We really appreciate it.
Big time. And the first preseason game, and actually the only one I'm going to go to is going to be the Bengals one. I'm going to skip the one against the Ravens. So maybe we'll raffle some tickets off or do something. And before people ask, we do not tailgate for preseason games. So it's what is it? It's a potluck. If you want to bring something, great. I'll be hanging out there with some Surfsides and a cigar and a box of Popeyes. Or maybe Bojangles, depending which one.
I think Bojangles is closed in Maryland.
What? So the one by the stadium?
I think it's closed.
Damn. That shows you how long I've been out there, man.
Popeyes, brother. You got to love that chicken.
That's fine with me.
Hey, well, I hear the music playing, as I always say each week, which brings us to another episode, to a close of the DMV Mess Hall. Thank you guys for riding with us. We greatly appreciate it. And for those of you coming to training camp, I will see you Sunday. Remember, you rep it hard, or you don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted. See you Sunday.